Survivor's ready. Go!
Trump spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are going to do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making me feel the devil here. You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk glamoury.
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Survivor Oz for the episode 7 recap, the merge episode recap, and we are back for another proper recap with proper contestants. We had a couple weeks off there during the transition of Ben's vacation or time on Survivor Australia, whatever it is he's doing, but we are back, and this week I'm thrilled to have a contestant here, the first boot from my all-time favorite season, which I've talked about a lot on this show. And when we did our rankings cast last year, I fought hard to bump her up a couple spots. So we are joined today by Diane Ogden, returning to Survivor Oz. Thanks for being here, Diane.
Yeah, you're welcome, Colin.
So I guess this is the first time you've been on in a couple seasons, I think, for a recap. We definitely haven't had you on this season. Yeah, so it's at least the first time this season. So I guess start off just by telling us how you're finding the season go wrong so far.
I mean, I started out on every Survivor that I watch. I start out just holding back, like I don't, like them to begin with.
Yeah.
And then there's still kind of a few out there I'm not too sure about, but I was sad to see Neil get evacuated. He seemed like a pretty good guy. But yeah, I don't know, those infections are horrid.
Yeah, I think that's why I was saying off air I'm interested to have you on for this season, just because of how harsh Africa was in an environment on, I guess, all the contestants have said, and we definitely saw how you experienced that in one episode, and this season's another one like that. So we'll definitely get into Neil's medevac and I guess some of your opinions on how things are handled now compared to then. Just to start with, this episode here, the merge episode, did you have any opinions on how this week played out? Did you like this compared to the previous episodes?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It just, right now, I guess everybody knows when the merge is coming. I guess I'm kind of longing for more of a surprise, as far as when the merge times come, but I guess that's probably not ever going to happen again. But it was all right. I was hoping that, it would have turned out better for Neil, of course, but we'll have to see. I'm kind of hoping they're all on even ground, starting out and seeing what's going to happen.
Well, I guess this season, of course, being divided, brains, brawn, beauty. The last time we had you on was the last season they did that, the brains, brawn, beauty. Do you like dividing the tribes like this? Do you feel it even makes any type of impression on the show, or is it pretty much just unnecessary and just a marketing gimmick?
Yeah, I think. I'm not crazy about the labeling, I guess, because it pigeonholes people. It's like, you have the older people here or the brainy people there, and then you kind of look at them and go, what? I wouldn't have thought that. But I mean, that's just me. So I don't particularly like it. But I mean, I'm not in charge of the show either. So
with this season so far, going through the brains, the brawn, the beauty, I mean, we see right at the beginning of this episode that even though there was, the tribe swap a few weeks ago, that it's still very clear that it is, the brawn, at least Scott, he was very adamant. He wants to wage war on the brains. And as soon as it hit the merge, I thought it was going to be just this scramble, especially after the tribe swap. But it ended up being just everybody back to the original tribes. Were you surprised by that?
No, because you're going to go back and hang with them, and then you're going to have to try and figure out who you're going to, hook up with or align with. Of course, I didn't get that far, but and I like to wait and watch people. I don't, make judgments real fast. But, I'm kind of hoping that Scott and, I hate to say it, Jason, I'm not loving him.
Jason's definitely like the polarizing character of the season so far.
Yeah, he is, but just, not really loving him. I like Aubrey, and I hope she lasts, but I don't see that happening. I think she's already got a target on her back. Poor thing.
Well, we talked with Billy Garcia last week about, the whole vote and how Aubrey handled it. And I think I definitely viewed it as maybe, a little bit just misplaying on her part, maybe a little bit too wishy-washy, and it turned some people off. But I was really surprised at the beginning of this episode to see how hard it really hit her, that people were really upset about that whole crossed out vote thing. So what do you think happened with the crossed out vote?
Oh, I think she did an eeny, meeny, miny, mo myself, but I was kind of like, oh no, and they all know your handwriting, so that's not going to be good. So hopefully she can get past, but I don't think she's going to be able to, unfortunately.
From Tribal Council, oh, sorry, we had a sneeze in the background there. It's something that happens all the time on the show.
Hey, that's all right.
It's actually a famous sneeze on the show. If anybody listens to our other episodes, they'll be familiar with it. But you could bring us a little bit of insight, because we were wondering about this past week, about the whole crossing out vote thing. And I'm sure it's not the first time it's ever come up. Are the rules laid out, or at least back in Africa, were the rules ever laid out as to what happens when you are making a vote? If you have to, cross it out, or are you able to cross it out? Do you get a new parchment?
I can't remember, but I don't think it, was against the rules if you decided you just couldn't vote for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to do that, and, and I, and since Clarence had, done me wrong, that was a gimme for me, because I don't know who I would have chosen otherwise, because I got along with everybody out there. It's just somebody had to go, and that was me, sick one.
I found with I guess the way Aubrey's taking, not that it's the easiest thing to compare, but in sort of thinking about what comparisons I can make between your seasons, the fact that Clarence did take so much heat for week after your vote out. Yeah. I almost wonder if that's where Aubrey's going, because it seems like some people are going to hold grudges, but it didn't seem like she recovered it all when she, got back with her original tribe members with Neil and everything. And it just seemed like she was plagued to have this continue following her throughout the entire show. I almost wonder, if there was something else going on behind the scenes we didn't see with Aubrey.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. She's a pretty, vocal and very smart gal, and she might be too what's the word, logical, about how to play this game, because there's no logic to this game. It's a lot of it's circumstance and luck, I think, and who you get along with and who you don't. And I think Clarence was, deemed the, bean stealer, through the whole time. And I love Clarence. I talk to Clarence. I love Clarence. But it's, once you have that kind of label, then people are always watching and they don't trust you. So,
with
that's what I think.
With the comment that Scott made, when he was saying, okay, when I'm going to take out all the brains one by one, and I'm going to write down Aubrey and then cross it out, and then write Joe and then cross it out. Did you find any humor in that, even not being a fan of Scott?
Well, yeah, because I might even have done that if we would have even have thought that. It's like, yeah, Clarence, and then I might have wrote my name down and end up with Clarence, just to mess with them. But you have to do that. It was so early though, back in the we didn't know what we were doing really, as far as season 3 to what is it now, 32? Who'd have thought? Long time.
With the merge this week, were there any of the alliance, like, I guess prior to going into this episode, what sides did you see everybody taking? Did you predict that, the Brains or the Brawn would go after each other like this? Did you have any type of predictions going in as to what you thought was going to happen? And then I guess also at the same time, did anything surprise you?
No, I mean, they're going to stay with their, original tribe as much as they can. And, was Debbie on the Brains to begin with? I think she was.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, see, I can't tell which side she's on. She's playing them all. And
she's a part-time model. She could be Beauty, right?
I have no idea what team she's on. So it's I don't know. She's fun to watch, though. I'll give her that. She's a hoot to watch. But I don't know. I think Joe and Aubrey are tight, but I don't know. Joe's starting to kind of, I don't know, something about him I'm not real sure about either. I can't put my finger on it, but we'll see how it plays out.
I guess the biggest change we had in this episode, it's really, you mentioned, Debbie, she's been a huge character so far, but suddenly it's like she went from being the mastermind to just one simple scene, and now she looks like a fool, who's kind of strawmanning people into these alliances. And on the flip side of that, we have Nick, a guy who was made to look like a fool for 6 straight episodes.
Yeah.
And now he's all over this. So, I mean, what's
I know.
biggest...
I'm kind of liking Nick a little more. I didn't like him at first, but I'm kind of liking him. I don't know. He just seems a little, how they're editing him, a little more real than he started out with. And Debbie, I think she's something else. I don't know. She reminds me of a friend I have that's done everything and knows everything. Mm-hmm. And I was a brain surgeon back in 2002 or what, just kind of like that. And every time because I'm waiting for her to say mail carrier.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I think everybody knows a person like Debbie. Of course, we've seen, Coach on Survivor before, but this is a different level. But she instantly reminds me of a guy I know who, there's always something new that they add to it. It's like, haven't seen him in a few years, and you talk to new people, and it's like, well, now all of a sudden he used to be a race car driver. I didn't hear that one a couple of years ago, Oh,
I know. It's just, and she is funny. I hope I don't see her winning. I can see her going, to the end. But, I don't see her winning. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. I think she'll get to the end, but I don't think she's going to win by any means. I don't know. She can pull it off.
Are you the type of viewer who goes into it really trying to analyze, well, this is how they're being portrayed, so maybe this is a potential winner, or no?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't think she's... And I'm trying to think of all the people on there that I would like to see win, and I like Sydney. She's very quiet, but we don't see everything though either.
Yeah.
So, she's got and Sydney and maybe Nick. Nick could pull it off too. Those are the two that I kind of can see going to the end, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Well, this is an unusual season, too, because, if we look at this episode, it definitely has a lot of fans a little bit confused because we do see somebody like Debbie, who was, a big star, and now all of a sudden she's portrayed negatively, and Nick, a guy who's portrayed so negatively, suddenly he's, by far the star of this episode.
Oh, yeah. So
it's almost like they're going out of their way to make the show unpredictable and hard for the audience to call at this point. I was kind of with you. I'm thinking, well, Sydney could win this, but now all of a sudden she's just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I remember last week thinking Nick has no chance of winning, and then it's totally turned around. So it would almost be nice if this season ends up as one of those where they have rewritten how they portray characters on the show and how they edit. That's kind of what happened with Tony a few seasons ago.
Yeah, see, I didn't see Tony winning, and I was really shocked that he did. But go figure.
We have your predictions from that season too, because I think you were on episode 1 and 2 recap here. So
I was.
just before the, we'll remind you of your predictions at the end of this. We'll
was I drunk?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll let you decide. We'll go through it.
Well, I'm not today, so.
Let's talk a little bit more about Nick here. The strategy that he's playing, it's interesting because Debbie was wanting to work with him, I think, a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And this week, Scott and Jason just quickly jumped on the bandwagon, like outing Ty with the idol and everything like that. And it was so instant, and I don't see Jason and Scott as being the type of guys. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, that was just a dumb move on Jason and Scott's part. They don't seem to be the type of guys who make rash decisions like that. So what do you think it is about Nick that is suddenly drawing people in when previously his original tribe members really didn't seem to like him?
Well, I think maybe growing the scruff on his face helps, but that would be just me. Well, because he looks more of a, more on everybody else's level,
Yeah.
And, because I didn't like the clean cut, and now I'm like, well, he's kind of scruffy, and he seems to be, trying to do really good here, and trying to get people to, think that, of him. So, I don't know. It's, they've been out there for how long now? A few weeks? Let's see. Yeah, for a while. So who knows? Maybe it's just their personalities kind of hooked up. They talk.
Jason and Scott also like very big alpha males, and I almost wonder if they're wanting to surround themselves with people. Like, we do our power rankings on the show here, and when I was writing mine this week, it kind of occurred to me that Scott, even though it seems like he's rubbing some people the wrong way, he seems to be surrounding himself with the right players. So I think more than anybody, he's surprised me with the alliances he's made, that he would make an alliance with a guy like Jason, that he would make an alliance with a guy like Ty. That's even more surprising.
Yes.
And now he's going after Nick. I mean, it's almost like he's intentionally surrounding himself. What are your thoughts on Scott's chances of winning this game, I guess, including whether or not his celebrity could ever come into play here?
Well, and see, I didn't know he was a basketball player, and until he started talking about it, and I don't know if he was up against, like Debbie and Ty maybe. See, I could see Ty winning too. He's a cutie, and he's adorable, and he does work quite a bit, and I don't know. There's something too to him that we haven't seen yet either.
Yeah.
His nasty side if he has one. And I don't know. It's hard right now at this point until we see more people go. And all of it can change. And Scott could be a really great guy towards the end,
Well, the fans seem to be pretty much rallying behind the idea that him being famous and having a lot of money would hold him back. And I don't know if we've really seen that in recent seasons so much, but like if we go back to Africa, you weren't on the Samburu tribe, but it was like Carl having money instantly made him a target. And did you see any of that on your tribe, or how would it have ever played out with a guy like Scott back in Africa?
Well, he, unless he ate beans. I think that, all the people on my tribe, we knew everybody did it for a living, and nothing of the other, but I don't think that, like money came into it, because I think Kim Johnson, she was a retired teacher and lived, pretty well off. I think that was in New Hampshire, but I guess for me, I don't look at those things. And when Carl and I were off after the game, and he told me all this, and I went to his house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he'd had the money, but I would have never have guessed it or thought that. So for me, it doesn't. I don't care if you're a millionaire or dirt poor and you're trying to play the game. If you're playing the game, then the best person wins. Not always, but it's a very social game, and we were just kind of putting our feet in the water back in Africa, and I'm an A type gal, but I like to sit back and watch people first, and then make my assessments of them later. And when Clarence came up to me right away and said, it's going to be me and you and Tommy in this alliance, right? Like when we were walking to find our camp, I'm like, well, I'll think about that. And I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no. I needed to wait. Yeah.
Isn't that how Aubrey got in trouble last week too?
Yeah.
But of course, the game changes a lot. Nowadays, you have to make an alliance on day one. Back in like Africa,
yes.
If you were making an alliance on day one, I would guess that would make you, threatening to everybody else.
I would think, yeah. And that's what I thought, because I'd only watched at that time. I had not seen, Borneo, and I had watched all of Australia, and I thought, oh, they're camping. That's going to be a piece of cake, and then drop us out in the desert, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. It's not good. And and plus back then we didn't have, like I think they have a water source for them all here in all these past seasons, because I know Africa was probably, they've never done another desert, without being by water again, and I'm sure they won't, because that was so tough. And I just think they seem like they have a whole bunch more food and access to all that stuff, nowadays. You see what I'm saying? It's like they get, or they have flint, or they win flint, and yeah, we didn't have that. It was like our torches, and that. Well, fortunately, after they had fire, so
yeah,
they got to keep their torches. So
you provided them with one gift on your departing of the tribe.
That was it. That was my one gift.
Well, what do you think it is with this season? Because I think everybody knew going in, or at least Jeff Probst had announced, there were going to be a record amount of medevacs this season. And I think everybody's perception was that it would have been, a situation with like injuries or Mike Scoopin falling in the fire or things like that. But it seems to be things like infections and all that. I mean, is there something going on in Cambodia that's different from other seasons? I mean, I don't know if there was anything. You said there was nothing like this in your season.
Well, and Cambodia is pretty humid. And I mean, that would, for me, think that it would foster, the germs faster than, where I was at. It was so arid dry. I mean, we didn't have the bugs. Mm-hmm. Like they've got the bugs. It's damp. It's hot. And, I think that that's more of a breeding ground for that sort of thing. But I don't know. They're all different. I think being in humidity though versus dry heat, I wouldn't want to be in the humidity at all. Mm-hmm. It's just rougher all the way around. I think, but I know that they're, dehydration too. Look at that. Like 3 of them drop, right after that challenge. And it's like, why when should do, more water challenges when it's so hot like that. And that actually, when, Caleb got medevaced, I heard he was in the hospital for 5 days, intensive care. And it's like, see, that dehydration's nothing to, to laugh about. So I think that they, kind of made a goof there on that challenge. But like I said, I'm not in charge.
Well, I guess it's one of those challenges, if you look at the finale, I don't know if you're familiar with Palau, with when Tom and Ian and Katie were hanging on to the buoy they had run the challenge through in the final episode for, who knows how long, and they figured, well, the maximum anybody's going to go is 4 hours, and they were out there for 10 hours trying to improvise, what do we do since we can't go to tribal council tonight? I guess there are just these situations where no matter how much prep you put into it, you don't know how the challenge is going to play out. You don't know what's going to happen when the players get out there.
Oh, yeah. Especially in those kind of, like standing on the pole type of thing, or, keeping your arm up in the air, or in that buoy. I think I might have missed that one, so I can't say for sure. But they just need to have, it's their show. They can do whatever they want. So obviously they must be doing something right.
Well, I'm actually curious. We're getting into the medevac now, and when you passed out at the end of the Boulder Challenge in Africa. That was probably the first time. I mean, Scoopin' was a little bit different. That was falling in a fire. We saw, emergency personnel. You were probably the first instance where we saw, the game taking its toll on somebody and medical personnel there. Does it seem to be the same to you from what you saw this season? Because we're getting real behind-the-scenes look of what's going on in the medevacs this season. What was the protocol when it happened with you?
Well, and I was, yeah. Well, of course, I don't remember until I remember Ethan screaming in my face, and I was way up like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, and the doctor was there, and he goes, no, that's just your lungs. They're drying up because you're dehydrated. I'm like, well, that can't be good either, and they give me a little teeny Dixie cup of water, and then we had to walk back to camp, and let's see, Lex and Ethan and Clarence were dragging me back to camp, and we get there, and production had brought us a canteen of water because it was brutal. I mean, we were done, and not a very big canteen. I still have it, but I mean, that helped a little bit. Huh?
They let you keep it?
Oh yeah, it was mine. Yeah, it's hanging on my wall over here.
Oh, nice. You got your whole Africa wall behind you.
Yeah. Oh, see right over there?
Mm-hmm.
That's my canteen.
Oh, this is see, again, for Africa being my all-time favorite season, this is a dream for me to see things from the show.
Yeah, all my pictures, and, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so when people come in, I had some guy doing some kind of work here the other day, and he looked at my wall, and I said, yeah, I was her. I was the girl on the first one off in season 3 Africa. I thought he was going to drop right there. It's like, yeah, don't do that, It's just funny.
How many doctors were there from what you remember? Were the doctors standing by during that challenge, or is it something where they had to be called in?
Oh, yeah. And there was actually... Yeah, they're there at least at that challenge. Oh, there's a lot of people there. And I think they said, we might have to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, no, don't do that. That's an idiot for me. I won't be back. And if I come back, they'll kick me off. Well, I probably should have done that. No, I wasn't gonna give up until, I got booted. So, but yeah, I was not feeling well, hallucinating all night. It was the worst night I've ever had. It was bad. Of course, you hear the lions all the time too. That doesn't help.
Oh, that's the other thing we've heard a lot from your season is the lions. It's that was no joke. That was there, right? I can't remember who it was from your season that. I was saying, I can't remember. Somebody from your season mentioned that, they thought, I think it was Lindsay or Brandon said they thought that there would be they were kind of joking around. They thought there'd be a Mark Burnett rocket or something like that would come by, and at some point they were told, no, listen, if you get attacked, that means good TV, so you better take this seriously because you're the one who's protecting yourself.
Oh yeah, and we had to at night. I know we had to do shifts and walk around our enclosed little fence area and clap, to keep them away. Because our little fence wasn't that. I mean, a lion could hop right over that. And that, I didn't sleep well when I was out there. Let's put it that way. Sorry, I mean, if you're out there and the animals are there and they're not caged up and it's their space. We're just traveling through it. So I didn't sleep well. Pretty intense.
It makes a little bit more sense now.
Great trip, but pretty intense.
Later in the season, I think it was when Kelly and Ethan, when there was a lion out there, and they were clapping or something like that, saying "Go away, go away." Now I actually understand why.
Yeah, because they'll run from that, and you don't want them running at you. And if they run at you, you're not supposed to run. Yeah, right. They told us that too. Don't run because then they'll think you're dinner. It's like, well, wouldn't they kind of just think that anyway if they were just standing there? So, yeah, it was pretty scary. It's their territory.
Well, with this season, obviously we've seen it's more, as you said, the infections and things like that are getting to people. And outside of Big Tom's boil, I don't think there was anything like that in your season.
No, I don't. I know Lex, and Lex was pretty sick after our show, and he was about a year. I think he was on that, quite a long time. But I don't recall any kind of gashes or bites from anything. At least in our season, I know Lindsay. I think she got smacked on her face, or she fell and had a little scratch. But oh no, nothing like this season. This season's crazy.
I mean, we've been speculating for weeks too about who's going to be the medevac, and the way that was laid out in the challenge, where everybody's like, okay, well, this is everybody show me your injuries, and they're all comparing. And then when the doctors come in, like, it's almost just a guessing game at this point. Like, there really is no way to predict. Everybody's hit with something. Do you think we've seen the last of the medevacs?
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything, but if Aubrey's gets, hers look pretty bad too. Mm-hmm. And she could be going. It looks like Ty's okay, but, it's a day-to-day thing, and I hope not, because, I mean, that stays with you, for, a long time, even after the show. Even though it's a show, those are, like Caleb, I'm sure he's weakened, from the dehydration. That's like, whenever I drive now to this day, I always have my water in my car just in case something happens. Yeah. And I make sure I have something in there, because that kind of freaked me out there. I couldn't get enough water after I got booted. They were trying to give me a little tiny cup, and I said, "Do you have like our big water bottle?" And they said,
4 liters.
Yeah, and they didn't want to give me it because they thought I was going to throw it up. And I said, "Well, do you got more if I do that?" And they said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Just give me a water bottle. I don't want a little tiny cup." And I didn't throw it up, so I was good.
I mean, after that long, I feel like bring the garden hose over, like do something.
Yes, and they, and then when I remember they took us, they had another camp I went to, and they had this great big meal made up for me, and I could shower and wash my hair, and I'm like, oh, that was heaven. It was just, it's like my whole skin just, the water just soaked it, just went right in there. It was great. I felt so much better after that. Dehydration, that's not fun. It's not fun.
Well,
horrible
with
feeling.
This episode, it's very similar, I guess, to a few seasons ago in San Juan del Sur, where we had this big build-up towards this strategy and what's going to happen, where's everybody going to go, and then, of course, in that season, it ended just with Julie quitting. And this season, or this episode, the merge episode, it ends with Neil being medevaced. There's really 2 ways of looking at this. I mean, I think some people look at it and they're disappointed we didn't get to see the strategy played out, and some people look at it and say, well, medevacs are so dramatic. Which side do you lay on? Did you find this episode anticlimactic because we had the medevac instead of tribal, or did you find the medevac the real drama that was there?
Well, I like dramas anyway. And so I liked this one better. I don't like it when people, dig at each other. I just don't like that. And, or get kind of nasty and to each other. I don't like that. But, this one, I'm glad that, Neil came through it and we didn't have that nastiness at tribal. And that's, for me, I liked this one, I guess, than the, previous tribal, where, like Pete, oops,
yeah,
didn't see that one coming either.
Yeah. Peter never sees anything coming.
No. So, I mean, and I always think of it as they're going to have a nice trip. I just look at it as, well, you got to play the game and you didn't win. So let's party now and have fun there. And it's, sometimes these people, it seems like they take it so seriously that, they just, that's all they can think about is, and they have nightmares about it. I mean, I've known people have nightmares for years after they've been on the show, and it's like I don't tend to live my life like that. So I hope they can, move past it and, quit because I know they're just replaying what they could have done. Well, it didn't happen. So,
yeah.
Might as well go grab that drink and hit the beach, have fun. But that's me.
We're going to move into our final 5 questions. But before we do, you brought something up there that I definitely have a question on now. Just, again, people have to forgive me if I'm just asking a lot of Africa questions. It's my all-time favorite season. But you did mention, you did mention the I guess the pre-jury trip and everything, and it never occurred to me until now. I don't often even think about people going on trips together. How did Carl and Lindsay get along together on a trip after this? They were both booted out.
We did. All of us got along great. Linda went off shortly for most of the trip because she wanted to do some of her, charity work or, her thing, and that was fine. But we all traveled together, and we didn't have any arguing or yelling. We all got along pretty well. I had a little chat with Clarence, and we were fine after that. And but yeah, with Carl and Lindsay, I think they settled everything, and we all just had a ball together. We went to different camps and did different things, and we stuck together like family, like we still are. All of us, even there are all dysfunctional and crazy ways that we are. That's just me.
Well, let's go to our final 5 questions here, which, again, I said we would remind you of what you predicted on the last appearance, which was the premiere of Survivor Kagan, which was the first Brains Brawn Beauty.
Okay.
And at that point, your prediction was let's go with this one first. Your tip to win. So off episode 1 and 2, your prediction to win was Jatia.
Really?
Turned out to be a big character. I mean, she had a decent episode 1, I guess. It's an interesting choice. Your dark horse.
Her,
I got it. Everybody loves Jatia. It's funny that for a character who is portrayed like such a villain, everybody loves Jatia.
Yeah,
She's so popular.
I've not met her in person, but I, I've seen, but I really liked her. I really did. Mm-hmm. She had fire.
Your dark horse was Lindsay on that season, who went on to quit, I guess. So.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that, am I?
0 for 2, but your prediction of the next to go was pretty much the same as what Jeff Probst was predicting, which was Spencer. Of course, he goes all the way on in the final 4, but you're on the same wavelength as Jeff Probst here. I mean, that counts for something, right?
Maybe. He doesn't listen to me or write me back on Twitter. I'm a little pissed. No, I'm just kidding.
Your player that you were most similar to, you said Trish, which I can actually see. That one makes sense.
Yeah, and I've met Trish. I like Trish. Yeah, we get along.
We're hoping to have her on for recap. We're actually supposed to have her on earlier, but we're hoping to still have her on a recap in a week or two. So we'll see if I'll make sure to ask Trish which player from Africa are you most similar to, and see if she mentions you.
I'll be upset if she doesn't. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's move into this really. Before we move into that, there is one thing we didn't have time. Of course, everybody out there can forgive us. A little bit of transition with Ben being away and trying to schedule things, but we didn't have time to open this up to fan questions, but there is one fan we have who always asks the same question, so I'm going to throw it out there for him. Zachary Chong always wants to know, I believe it's Zachary Chong. If it's not, whoever else it is, you'll still get your question answered. One of our listeners always wants to know, we did a project which was a rankings cast. So this was a little over a year ago where 5 of us sat down for 34 hours and ranked every single contestant from Survivor. And we had power to veto somebody. If somebody nominates a person in number 388, then you can veto that person. So at the time of 442 Survivor players, you finished in 388th. Are you happy with that position?
Wow!
Disappointed?
Yes, I'm not last.
You finish ahead of Deb Eaton from Australian Outback too, one position ahead of her. So
Wow.
that's not bad. Yeah, you're ahead of quite a few people here. You're ahead of Jessie. Jessie finished in number 400.
Jessie from my
Yeah.
season. Well, see, she's gorgeous, and she's so nice, too. But wow.
I'll actually let you know, and again, this will make you proud, and if I had to do it, we had the power to veto, and when you were put up at 388, I did try to veto you, and I used an argument which I thought was very persuasive, which is simply that even though you were voted out first, the strategy or whatever it was you were playing, turning the attention onto Clarence, it did pay off. And I mean, ultimately, Clarence was voted out for the things that happened in that episode. So you must have done something right in the game. That's more than a lot of other people below you. They weren't able to succeed in anything there. So.
And that was, that wasn't my strategy. Getting sick wasn't my strategy. And,
Yeah.
But when Clarence was trying to pull off I wanted the beans, I wanted them open, I'm like, nuh-uh. And Clarence, you know that. And so that's kind of where that started. And he was trying to tell people, I was laying in the dirt, Clarence. You had to come over to me, and you couldn't figure out the can opener. And I told you to wait for everybody else. And then he figured it out, So it's like, oh, great.
There you go. 388, a respectable position. That's not bad.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. That's pretty cool.
I did the recap with Jonathan Penner last season. I can't remember if it was last season or the season. I think it was the season before. And he finished pretty high. I think it was like number 50 or something like that. And he was outraged that he was as low as he was. So it's good to have people who appreciate the fight that we put up for them.
As long as I last, I'm good.
And you finished ahead of Julie, who we mentioned too. Julie, who quit in San Juan del Sur. So there you go.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm glad that I'm not last, and I'm like in the 300s. That's good.
So let's get your final five right here for this season. Let's see when you check back in with us next season or whenever, we can update you and see if your predictions are improving or. But
yeah, probably not.
Let's start. You're later in the season. You have something to go off of, so hard to do on episode 1, I guess. But who at this point in your season would be your tip to win?
Well, I'm leaning towards Sydney. I don't know if they'll, show or Nick. I'm gonna say Nick, because I think Nick has. I think Nick could do it.
The good thing about this is that you still get a dark horse to pick, so you can technically pick 2 winners and still look brilliant if either one of them comes out. So who's your dark horse?
All right, we'll go with Sydney.
There you go. Best of both worlds there.
There we go.
This question was the one where you answered Spencer last time. So let's see if maybe being at the merge helps a little bit. Who do you think's the next one to go?
Who's the next one to go?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate to say it, but I think Aubrey might be the next one to go.
She's kind of being painted as she's either going to be. We talked about this. She's either going to be a huge underdog, or she's going to be the obvious next one to go. It really is tough to tell at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, and I still think, unless somebody does a real jackassy thing.
Let's not put past Jason. He could, right? Jason, Scott, one of them.
Yeah, Jason, Scott, yeah, or Debbie even,
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say Aubrey, because I think they're gonna keep Debbie around, till the end. Mm-hmm. She'd be a good goat, I suppose.
Yeah. Which tribe? You answered this last time. We'll see if it still matches up. Which tribe are you most likely to be on if you were on this season? The brains, the brawn, or the beauty?
I'm going to say brains, because I'm not the beauty anymore, and I'm sure not as strong as I used to be. And I'm not, I like to think things out and think things through. So I'm going to say brains.
You also answered brains last time, so nothing changes.
Oh,
but
I did. Oh, cool. All right.
I did play this game with Billy Garcia, too, and I'll just change it up a bit and get your opinion really quickly on this. If you had to pick one person from your season to be on each of those tribes, who is the ultimate brain from Africa? Who's the ultimate brawn and the ultimate beauty?
I'd say Tom is the brawn, And
Tom's gonna be disappointed he's not the beauty.
And the beauty, I would say, T-Bird. She's just gorgeous, and inside and out. And I'd say Lex for brains. Lex is really smart.
Yeah, Lex has to be the obvious answer for that. Even if Ethan won, Lex is the brains. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Although nothing against Ethan, he will be on for recap later this season, and if he is listening to this one, Ethan's a close second for brains. Which player from this season is playing the most like you?
God, I hate to say it, but maybe Debbie.
Hey, Debbie's a massive character, part-time model, right?
Well, and I like to joke around, but I mean, I'm not, it's like I'm not a brain surgeon, I'm not a model, and not, this, but I do like to have fun and try to lighten the mood. So I'm gonna, and she does a lot of lightening up. She talks quite a bit. Yep, her. I'm sorry.
It would mean at the very least you'd be the star of the season, though, because nobody's gotten more screen time than her, I think.
I know. She has gotten a lot.
Yeah. I guess that's our final 5 questions, so apologies again for nobody being able to send in the opportunities to get the fan questions. Hopefully next week we'll have a bit more advance notice, or I'll remember whatever it is. At this point, do you have any last-minute predictions of what do you think is going to happen in the upcoming weeks? I guess the preview for next week's showing a bit of a fallout with Sydney and Jason, maybe?
Yeah, well, I bet Sydney could take Jason out, though,
Oh, in a second, yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. You never know what's going to happen on this one. This season's pretty unpredictable for me right now. I can't place my finger on it yet, but it's like, well, I'll just have to. And I usually watch them about 2 or 3 times because I'm like, I always miss something. But it's like I can't. I don't know. It'll be fun to see the fight, though.
Yeah, and we'll probably get an actual tribal council finish in this episode, as long as nobody else has medevac. Several will be set up, I guess.
That's true.
Well, thanks for doing this, Diane, and we were able to get somebody on this week, and it was somebody from my all-time favorite season, so I'm thrilled we had you on.
Oh, thank you, Colin. That was really nice.
Huge thanks to Diane Ogden again for doing the recap with us this week. And as I mentioned several times on there, it's great to have somebody from my favorite season to recap this current season. So that was episode 7 of Kaoh. The merge is done, and we're coming up on, unfortunately because of the time this is getting out, we're coming up on the new episode airing this week. So by the time you hear this, we're probably only about 24 hours or so away from the new episode airing. But that also means we'll have some new content coming out pretty quickly. The Oztopsy, again, unfortunately not live this week as we have to line up mine and Noah's schedules for it. But we will have the Oztopsy as soon as possible out, as well as the Ozlit show. I'm not sure who's hosting this week, but again, we're going to continue to shuffle it around and have new people hosting all the time. And we will have another Survivor contestant recapping with us next week. I kind of vaguely have an idea who it is, but we're still finalizing it. And we will try to get out some advance notice so that we can get some questions, if at all possible, this week. Otherwise, you can listen to Ben's interview again that he put out last week with Jillian Larson and Dan Foley as he's heading to Reality Rally and probably a few weeks away from coming back to this show. But anybody who's interested in Reality Rally, you can still donate to Team Survivor Oz through our page, our website. Finally going to be getting around to doing our mid-season recap of The Amazing Race. We're going to be reporting that tomorrow, so that should be out soon. And make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and send us any messages, any feedbacks to our power rankings, whatever it is. And until next time, we will speak to you on the train.